A golden performance for Team USA. What should the Patriots do in free agency? And should the Celtics really consider not bringing Jason Tatum back? A Blizzard edition of the Boston Globe Sports Report starts right now. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Boston Globe Sports Report. I am Ben Volen. As you can see, we are not in the studio today. A little bit of snow outside in Boston, so we're going to do it remotely here from the Volen Command Center. We're also going to bring in Chad Finn on Zoom, and let's do that now. Chad, hey, we got to talk about the Olympics. It's been dominating our TVs for the last 3 weeks. Specifically, that gold medal hockey match on Sunday, Team USA against Team Canada. Chad, when I was watching that game, man, Team Canada seemed like the much better team. They were skating circles around Team USA, almost doubled them up in shots at one point in the game. But Team USA had the better player. They had the best player on the ice in Connor Hellebuyck. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's kind of how hockey goes sometimes, right, Ben? To me, it's the ultimate momentum sport. Like, you can kind of tell when a team has a momentum, and it really felt like Canada did for a good portion of the game, especially the second period. It almost felt inevitable, like they were going to score a goal or two, and Hellebuyck just made save after save, played a fantastic game, and that can be the difference between winning a gold medal and looking really disappointed to end up with a silver for Team Canada. Their goalie, Jordan Binnington, Bruins fans know him well from the 2019 Cup Finals, a real nuisance for the Blues. But Hellebuyck was better than him on Sunday, and that ultimately proved to be the difference in the game.
Yeah, honestly, watching the game, I just kept waiting for the deluge, for the onslaught from Team Canada, because they really were kind of skating circles. They had the much better skaters. If they played on the old Olympic sheets with the more room, that would have been really fun for me to watch, to see how McDavid and those guys really could get skating. But I mean, for Connor Hellebuyck, they stopped a 5-on-3 power play for a minute and a half. 2 dead-on breakaways, including one from Connor McDavid. That incredible stick save that reminded me of Braden Holtby when he won the Stanley Cup for the Capitals. Just Connor Hellebuyck, you know, he proved that in hockey, you don't need the best team. You just need to have the best goalie who can stand on his head. And what a performance for Team USA. Such a validating performance for them, coming in as the number 2 seed, winning, defeating Team Canada, and really not having much problem with the other opponents. I think a real strong sign of where the state of the game is right now in the United States for hockey.
Yeah, they did a heck of a job putting a team together. I think we've seen that more and more in sports, where it's not the list of the best players that make an Olympic team or an all-star team or like a World Baseball Classic team or something, where you're trying to compete for something. They try to make the pieces fit now, and the Team USA pieces really fit together well. They gelled quickly. You heard all the players talk about it after the game, but they were talking about it before the game too, and during the entire Olympics, that they really had great chemistry. They like playing together. A lot of them are rivals. I mean, we had to root for Charlie McAvoy and the Tkachuk brothers as teammates, which we're not used to doing around here. But they really found a way to gel and found a way to bring out the best in each other. And that's how they ended up with a gold medal, even though if you look at Canada's roster, they have 6 or 7 of probably the top 10 best players in the world.
Yeah, absolutely loaded. And, you know, I think it was a great sign for the game in general. This is the first time in 12 years that NHL players were allowed back to play in the Olympics. And I know it makes the schedule condensed for the NHL, and you know, guys like Sidney Crosby get hurt, and he might be out for a little while longer here playing these extra games. But what a great showcase for the sport to have the NHL players back on this stage.
It really is. I mean, I like the college players aspect of it too, just because Miracle on Ice is one of maybe the greatest story of my lifetime as a sports fan. And that was obviously U.S. college players, 5 players from BU on that team. So that element of it was always cool, but what you get with this is the best players in the world going head to head with real stakes. They really care. You saw the devastation on Canada's faces when they got their silver medals and their little stuffed animals, and just the absolute elation for Jack Hughes and the U.S. players. And really matters. I mean, obviously it does because it's an Olympic medal, a gold medal that you're playing for, but playing for your country too. And to see the best players in the world so engaged is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to shout out Charlie McAvoy and Jeremy Swayman coming home with a gold medal. Got to shout out Millis native and Boston College alum Matt Boldy getting the Team USA on the board with that tremendous goal. Also, his mom, bartender down in, and his dad's an Attleboro police officer. Got to love that story. Two gripes though with the Olympic hockey in general. The one, how does Connor McDavid? I know he's the best player in the world, and I know he had a tremendous tournament. But how do you give the Olympic MVP to Connor McDavid and not Connor Hellebuck? I don't understand that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, especially in these kind of tournaments like the Olympics is a tournament. They give the award based on how you did over the whole 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever it is. I don't like that. It needs to be a sliding scale where if you play your best in the biggest game, you're the MVP. And that's 100% what Hellebuck did. I mean, probably no player in any sport other than maybe a pitcher in baseball impacts a game like a goaltender does when he's on. And Hellebuck was as on as he was drawing Jim Craig comparisons yesterday. It reminded Bruins fans of Tim Thomas in the 2011 Cup Finals when he stood on his head, and he absolutely should have been the MVP. He was the MVP of that game yesterday. It was a gold medal game, and therefore he should have been the MVP of the whole thing.
Yeah, it's okay to include the entire tournament, but maybe put a little more weight on the gold medal game. Also, Canada whining about the 3-on-3 format. Like, I get it. Team Canada was definitely the better team, but stop whining. Both teams had to play 3-on-3.
Yeah, they had a big advantage in that, right? They're the more skilled team, and yet they didn't get the goal. And that's probably why they're pretty disappointed at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, coming up next, Chad, Finn, and I are going to get a little warm. Let's talk some spring training baseball. Head down to Fort Myers and talk some Red Sox. Welcome back to the show, and let's warm up a little bit now, Chad, with some baseball talk. Let's head down to Fort Myers, talk some Red Sox spring training. The Grapefruit League is now getting underway. The Red Sox have played a couple spring training games as we sit here on Monday, getting pelted by a blizzard. Chad, seems to me that they're putting a lot on young Roman Anthony's plate. They're asking him to be the leadoff hitter, and without that big bat in the lineup, they're counting on him to be a real force in the middle of the lineup. And this is a kid who's only played 3 months of Major League Baseball. Are they putting a little too much on Roman Anthony's plate here?
I actually don't think so, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't have brought in more help. I mean, Craig Breslow talked before free agency in the offseason about their need for a big power bat, and they didn't go out and get one. They lost Alex Bregman. It wasn't a big power bat, but just a good right-handed hitter and a good all-around player. They didn't replace him. They still haven't replaced Rafael Devers' power in the middle lineup after trading him in the middle of last season. So they're kind of spreading the weight around in terms of where their home runs are going to come from. They're counting on Wilyer Abreu. They are counting on Roman Anthony for a big portion of that too. But I'm a believer that he's going to be ready. My two favorite moments from last season, Ben, were both Anthony home runs, one against the Yankees and then one off Paul Skeens' fastball, which isn't supposed to be humanly possible. So I think this kid is going to be a superstar and pretty fast, starting with the World Baseball Classic, but still they should have brought in more to kind of bolster around him in the lineup.
Yeah, I'll say this. Like, I think that the talent is off the charts with Roman Anthony, but I mean, he's never been through a 162 game grind before. We don't know how he's going to withhold in July and August and September, and to have him batting leadoff and to just expect that he's going to be in the lineup 150 games and putting up numbers. I think you might want to put that in pencil instead of pen. That's a lot to ask for a kid.
Yeah, I don't like back injuries for hitters. He had an oblique injury last year that ended his season prematurely. That Yankees playoff series that they lost in 3 games might have been a little bit different had he been in the lineup. He was their best player by that point. Their season didn't turn when they traded Rafael Devers. Their season turned about a week earlier when they brought Anthony up from the minor leagues. He's just that good, but the oblique thing last year, you hope that doesn't recur. I think they'll be very careful in terms of giving him a day off when he needs one. Alex Cora is very good about that with pretty much everybody, but I'm all in, man. This kid is an elite talent. He's got the makeup, and it's just a matter of staying on the field.
Yeah, well, they're counting on him to be David Ortiz in this lineup. So, but I agree with you. The talent is undeniable. It's off the charts. Aren't they also kind of putting a lot on Trevor Story, though? Trevor Story had a terrific year. What did he play? 157 games last year.
Yeah.
But what are the odds that he can do that again? I know he's someone who's battled injuries over the years.
Yeah, 157 games, and he wore down. He was having trouble with his throwing at the end of the year, which is kind of a telltale sign that he's a little bit out of gas. He played 163 games total in the previous 3 years. He was fantastic last year. I mean, probably their best player. Kind of kept them together when Anthony came up, and after the Devers trade, Story was a really stable force for this team offensively and defensively. But at age 33, you can't count on him to stay healthy for a full year. I think that's why they brought in some depth with their infield. But you can't, no way you can count on him to play that many games.
All right, we got 10 seconds left. We know they have to get a power bat. It's going to be by a trade. Will that trade happen before opening day, Chad Finn?
No, I think it's an in-season thing. They should have signed Pete Alonso. He went to the Orioles. They could have got in a bidding war on that. But I think this is something they do in season.
Yeah, Alonso smashed one for the Orioles the other day, too. All right, coming up next, the NFL Combine's here, but that actually means NFL free agency is going to start. What should the Patriots do? Coming up next. Welcome back to the show, and the NFL Combine's already here. We don't have any time to rest after the Super Bowl, Chad. And even though it's we're going to be watching guys run the 40 and doing all the testing and the drills, it's really the Combine about the kickoff to free agency with all 32 teams having representatives in town. Let's take a look now at the Patriots. There's some moves that everyone's already starting to kick around. First, I want to start with Stefon Diggs. There's some thought that maybe the Patriots should move on after 1 year. The contract isn't too prohibitive. What are your thoughts on what they should do with Stefon Diggs?
Yeah, I'm leaning toward moving on. I mean, he gets that bump up, $26.5 million. That's still tenable for a productive receiver, but I feel like there might be diminishing returns with him. I always go back to how badly it ended in Buffalo when you're playing with Josh Allen, who's a great quarterback. I think most receivers would love to play with that guy, and yet Diggs kind of had some issues at the end. It seems to not always end great wherever he is. And I worry that it might happen with the Patriots, and they have such great chemistry. Vrabel has a great locker room, and it's something they prioritize that I don't know if they want to pay for the downside of Diggs when they got such a great year out of him.
So here's the thing. I actually disagree with you on this one, Chad. I see no reason why they should move on from Stefon Diggs. I thought he was a very productive season receiver in his 1 year here, coming off a torn ACL. New offense, new teammates, new everything, still hit that 1,000-yard mark. And while he wasn't, consistently putting up numbers week to week, he was still their best receiver and had some big-time performances from them. And then, yeah, he's, on the other side of 30. He's going to be 32 years old. So in theory, of course, you want to get younger. And his salary, I think, jumps up to $22 million, and his cap number is $26 million. Here's the thing, though. That's not expensive. That's pretty much the going rate for wide receivers. His $26 million cap number, I think, ranks him 13th next year, and that's before free agency. Guys like Alec Pierce and George Pickens are going to move ahead of Stefon Diggs as well. Diggs' contract that pays him an average of $21 million a year, that's like, I think he ranks 22nd among wide receivers. You're not going to do much better with the money than bringing back a guy who just came in with 1,000 yards and is a productive receiver. So I would not move on from Stefon Diggs. I think they should keep him. That moves on to our second player here. A.J. Brown is someone that a lot of Patriots fans are talking about. The Patriots should go make a trade for him. I've got some thoughts on it, but Chad, I want to hear yours first. What do you think about the Patriots moving on from Diggs and instead going to get A.J. Brown?
Yeah, I trust Vrabel on this one because obviously he knows the player. He had him in Tennessee. It was one of the impetuses for Vrabel's tenure ending there. I think the big one was coming to his Patriots Hall of Fame ceremony and saying it's not like this everywhere. I think that ticked off Titans ownership a little bit, but trading A.J. Brown infuriated him too. And I'm curious if he still feels the same way about the player. A.J. Brown's talked about how his word was, I hated Vrabel initially. But then they built up a pretty strong relationship. And if Vrabel looks at what he's done in Philadelphia, the issues he's had, but also the production, some health things with his knee, and looks at Brown and says, you know what, that's the guy I need. I'm going to trust him on that. I want somebody who's more productive than Diggs in the big games. He didn't have over 40 yards in any of their playoff games. I think his size and the fact that they could emphasize shutting him down, opposing defenses could hindered him a little bit. I want to see somebody who's more of a downfield threat and a little bit bigger, like Brown. But I would absolutely defer to a Vrabel on that particular player.
Yeah, see, I'm a no on A.J. Brown. He costs more money. He's $29 million. You're going to have to trade draft picks, which I wouldn't want to do. And I don't see him as being a huge upgrade over Stephon Diggs, to be honest. I don't think the Patriots receivers were why they didn't win the Super Bowl. I think it all tends back to the offensive line. So I think the Patriots have more than enough at receiver. Real quick, the last guy that's brought up is Max Crosby, a pass rusher. What do you think? Should the Patriots go and get him?
I don't like the price. I mean, they're still a team that's building, that needs young players, that has a lot of needs. Even though they went to the Super Bowl, you can go through 3 or 4 positions of real need. I want to see them use their draft picks well rather than trade them for an aging player. This is still a build as successful as they were this past season.
So that's where we agree. Patriots, do not trade your draft picks. You do not need to be trading 2 1s for Max Crosby or Myles Garrett or A.J. Brown or anyone else. Keep your draft picks and use them. You need to add some youth, especially on defense. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk some Celtics. Should they really think about not bringing Jason Tatum back this year? More on that after the break. Welcome back to the show, and boy, another impressive win for the Celtics on Sunday night, going out to LA and beating the Lakers by 22 points. Celtics have now won 8 of their last 9 games. They're really rolling. Jaylen Brown is a legit MVP candidate. Chad, I'm going to give you a take here that I never thought I'd say, but I'm actually starting to come around to, I think they should wait for Jason Tatum to come back next year. That they're playing so well right now that adding Jason Tatum to this mix could really just mess things up. What do you think about that?
That is a take for sure. No, I don't agree with that. I think everything they've done to this point sets up him coming back, even though they're still being coy about it. Trading Simons for Vucevic obviously had salary implications, tax implications, but it also sort of makes the roster in a little bit more of a alignment when Tatum comes back. There wouldn't have been shots for Simons with Tatum there. I think Tatum is way more malleable than he gets credit for, and he's also conscientious. I know people get frustrated with his shot selection sometimes, and I'd be really happy to never see a step-back three-pointer with 14 seconds on the shot clock ever again, but he's a great rebounder, good defender, can guard anybody, excellent passer, and he's talked about this, he's aware of how well they have played without him, and is trying to figure out how he fits in. So I have complete faith that Jason Tatum, he might take a bad shot once in a while, but he's going to acclimate himself to what they need. And no team in the league is going to get a bump from a player like the Celtics will get from Jason Tatum, even if he's at 85% of what he was before his injury.
See, I think this could be a case of subtraction by addition. It's so complicated with a player who's as ball dominant as Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown both are. The Celtics are rolling right now. Jaylen Brown is playing the best ball of his career. Peyton Pritchard has found a really nice role here coming off the bench again. They've won 8 of 9 games. They're playing really good ball here. They're one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. And then you're going to bring Jason Tatum back, who's coming back from a torn Achilles. He's going to be testing his leg. He's going to be working on his game. How much of this is, going to be on getting Jason Tatum up to speed versus we're already up to speed, the rest of the team, and we're rolling. Like, if this was a role player, I'd say, sure, bring him in. But the fact that he's so ball dominant and he's such a superstar, I think it really could complicate things for the Celtics.
Yeah, I don't. Ball dominant is true, but nobody has a higher usage rate than Jaylen Brown, who's taken the most shots in the league this season. I think he has to acclimate a little bit, but again, Tatum has talked about how well they've played without him and trying to figure out where he fits in. And I trust him to be conscientious about it. what we don't know, the variable is how sharp he is, how good he looks. But they're not going to bring him back unless they're 100% certain that he's ready to go. That means practicing with the team. That means doing his G League stuff, which he's already done. Missoula's being very coy about whether he's practicing with the team right now. But they're not going to rush him back. They're not going to ask him to play 35 minutes a night. They're going to ease him in. And he's Jason Tatum, first team All-NBA, one of the most well-rounded players in the league. Of course you take that guy back when you have the chance.
But what if he is rusty, Chad? What if he isn't Jason Tatum because he is coming off that torn ACL? What if he has a little bit of a rough stretch and the rest of the players are looking around being like, hey, we were good before. Like, we don't need this variable here kind of complicating things for us.
Yeah, I don't think that happens because he's so good at a lot of different things. They miss his rebounding. They miss his ability to guard a bunch of different people. Jason Tatum doesn't have his full quickness yet. You put Jason Tatum on the block where he's an absolute killer in the post. He's one of the most flexible players in the league. I've said malleable a few times. Now I'll change it to flexible. And he can help you win in a lot of ways, even if he's not the scoring force that he's always been. I don't think there's really any question that you bring back Jason Tatum when you have a chance to.
I'm starting to come around, so I think you tell him, take your time, and let's get ready for the 26-27 season. We'll let Jaylen Brown handle this. All right, real quick, let's end the show with our Hail Marys. Chad Finn, go.
Marcelo Meyer not only makes the team, he has a really good year, and we talk about him as one of the better young players in the American League.
Okay, very good. Mine's going to be Christian Gonzalez. The Patriots, he's going to be their big signing this offseason. They're going to pay him a record-setting contract. I don't see a ton of major moves since they spent all that money last offseason, but Christian Gonzalez is going to get a big contract. All right, thank you for watching today's show. Thank you, Chad Finn. I'm Ben Volen. This has been a blizzard edition of the Boston Globe Sports Report. We'll catch you guys next week when hopefully it's not quite as snowy.